So every time I have to find something that would work, especially in marketing, regardless of culture, market, or languages. So that's why I was drawn to psychology and neuromarketing.
Sharp Strategies, Sweet Success.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Sharp Strategies, Sweet Success. I'm Tiffany Swedensky, and today I'm talking to Ola Bodnar of Ethos Leads. I actually met Ola via LinkedIn several months ago, and I started following her on TikTok and LinkedIn. I see her videos all the time, and she talks marketing for law firms. And she actually works out of the Netherlands. So I think you're over there right now. And so, very interesting to get to know her and to learn more about her. She has a lot of great stuff that she posts on her TikTok if you want to follow her. And today we're actually talking about neuromarketing, which is an interesting topic that I actually took a short course on a few years ago, rather. And Ola has been making a lot of content and talking a lot about this particular topic. And that's what we're going to be discussing today. And now I'm going to let her introduce herself to all of you.
Thank you so much. Thanks for inviting me to this podcast. I do really enjoy your content as well. I think your content on LinkedIn and TikTok and Instagram all over is really unique and really like you have your unique voice. And I'm sure, I don't know if you do use neuromarketing, stimuli, and all those things consciously or subconsciously, but it's really good. So I really enjoy your content as well. Oh, yes, as you mentioned, I'm in the Netherlands now, but this is my third country. So I've started my life and businesses in 4 countries in total. So every time I have to find something that would work, especially in marketing, regardless of culture, market, or languages. So that's why I was drawn to psychology and neuromarketing. I started my first business back in Ukraine. I was born there. That's why I have an accent. And actually, it was a translation company, so it wasn't marketing. But I quickly realized that I liked business side, like marketing, business development, all strategy, all those things more than actually doing translations. So I hired freelancers to do translations and focused on developing my business. But then life happens, and my husband, our 3-year-old daughter, moved to Canada. It was 2014, and I had to start over. I didn't know anyone. I didn't have any network, so I started volunteering at the Ukrainian Canadian Legal Aid Clinic, and I met immigration lawyer there, and I helped him market this legal aid clinic, and then started marketing his practice. So that gave the launch of my marketing business for lawyers. And back in Canada, I also worked at the major business law firm. So I got also the feeling of the law firm, how to work in the law firm, but also running my own business. Then in 2023, we moved again, that with our then 1-year-old son. So it's been a lot. And I started Ethos Leads, as mentioned, where I focus on helping mainly solo and small law firm owners market ethically, but also effectively. And why focus on ethics? Because I saw lots of shady tactics, lots of companies doing marketing for lawyers that don't specialize in legal marketing, that might not know all the rules and regulations and might not intentionally, but violate those rules. But at the end, lawyers are responsible for that. So that was my focus. And now this year we moved to the Netherlands and I'm working on European presence of Ethos Leads, but while still working with US and Canadian clients.
And I had a few questions, and I was going to hold this to the end, but I mean, it's kind of a softie. But of all the places that you've lived, like, where have you liked it the most? Like, what's been your favorite?
It's hard to say yet. You know, the general answer would be every place has benefits. And I think that every time we move, we think this is the better place for us, but only time will tell. So moving from Ukraine to Canada, we thought Canada was great and US better, but then here in Europe also benefits. But in terms of legal marketing, what I've noticed, US is, as you know, is very competitive, is very aggressive, very business-like, ROI focused. Europe, on the other hand, is very reserved, very reputation first. Aggressive marketing is frowned upon, and Canada is like in the middle, it's balanced. It's not that aggressive as in the States. One of the example that I found myself interesting but also weird was the use of billboards. We used to live in Philadelphia suburbs, and every time I took this highway to Philadelphia, it was like just billboards of primarily personal injury lawyers, as you work with them mainly, so you may relate. But at first, when I saw all those billboards, I found them like this can't be true because they were so I don't want to say gimmicky, but very aggressive, like lawyer covered with like, money falling on his head, or just very bold, saying we are the best, we are the largest, we are. Like, it was like for me, it was like in coming from Canada, it was too much. But every market has their own differences. In Europe, it wouldn't work, of course. But
Oh, yeah. Yeah, billboards, that's a doozy. And you see all kinds of weird things with the billboards. And there are certain areas of the US where they're just way more common. And I can't speak too much to the West Coast, but definitely in like North and South Carolina in particular, I've driven down there recently and there's just billboard after billboard, and sometimes just a series of them. And people like law firms would either take the route of being like over the top and funny, or trying to be like very buttoned up and professional, or catastrophic, I guess is the word, where they're showing like graphic, almost graphic imagery. I mean, nothing like no bodies or anything, but like car accidents and very serious messages. And it's kind of overwhelming. And I mean, well, I am not sure billboards work, but it's this idea that repeating a brand multiple times just builds that brand awareness, which ultimately leads to, more callers, more referrals, and things of that nature. So, how, like, and I mean, bringing this to neuromarketing, like, how do you think, like, the average person is processing a billboard as they're driving past it, like 60 miles an hour? Does the graphic imagery and like the over the top billboards, does that like help get noticed, because it's drawing our attention? Or do people even notice those things at all? I mean, what do you think?
they like visual is one of the stimuli that we use to catch the attention of our primal brain. And I heard recently that our primal brain processes like 11 million bits of information per second, and only like 40 bits gets into our conscious mind. So I don't know if your billboard will get into those 40 bits, because our brain, especially primal brain, which makes these decisions and is focused on our survival, is very self-centered. It's how we develop. So if it's not about my safety, about me as a person driving, I don't know if I care that you're the largest law firm in the country. So what does it mean to me? But well, I'm in legal marketing. Those billboards caught my attention, but of course they catch someone's attention. Especially if someone's driving to work, they will burn into their brain because of the repetition. But what neuromarketing teaches us is not to focus on ourselves, because no one cares about you. So it's a good thing, but it's a bad thing, of course. If you're worried about posting yourself or your videos, no one pays attention. Like they may notice you for a second, but then they back to thinking about themselves. But then it's of course bad thing because of the no one is thinking about you when you try to get people's attention. And why I'm interested in neuromarketing is traditional marketing teaches us to educate, to provide value. And I used to do that as well. I used to post educational content. Here's how to optimize your Google business profile. Here's how to record videos. Here are some tricks, tips. I was trying to provide value, but was like it gave me some views, some impressions, but didn't drive revenue. Like every business owner's goal is to drive revenue, not likes and impressions. So I was trying to find something that would focus on people and understand what makes people buy. So coming back to neuromarketing, I learned that our brain is consists of three layers. Primal brain, as mentioned, which was developed like hundreds of millions of years ago. It doesn't even way before language and written word. So it doesn't register that. Then there is our middle part, like limbic system, which is about emotions and our gut feeling, and which is actually where all the decisions are made. And our newest part, neocortex, which is our logical part. And people think, like a lot of people, lawyers, for instance, think that people choose lawyers logically, which makes sense. Like, you are the biggest law firm, you have this many lawyers, you have this many years of experience, you've helped that many people. These are all logical things. But what neuroscience, neuromarketing shows us, this is not the way people make decisions to hire you or not to hire you. So first, our task is to catch a primal's brain attention, because processes that many, the millions of bits of information. So our task is it's like when you're standing in the rain and you can compare it to social media, all those posts, millions of posts per day, and only 40 gets into our conscious mind. So how to be that post that will catch our brain's attention and then activates our emotional side and then justifies our buying decision later. So there are different stimuli that we can talk about, and yeah, if it's interesting at all. How many
Stimulation
questions?
is such a fun word. So, well, and you said a ton of great stuff there. And I'm trying to go back mentally to the beginning because you mentioned, like, our brain only processes like so much information at a time. And so, like, when we're talking about marketing, people get really, really good at filtering, what they see, like on a web page. Like, if I open up a web page and I'm looking at a recipe, I see like 6 ads, or there are 6 ads. But after I cook the recipe and spend 20 minutes kind of looking down at the counter, reading it, I couldn't tell you what ads were on that page because I'm good at filtering out those ads. And if I really need to, I'll just outright block them. And things will catch our attention. And like with LinkedIn, we're hooking people into your post is really important. Or like with billboards being like visually eye-catching, so you might have the possibility of getting their glance. Hopefully the passenger, not the driver. But at that point, like once you hook them, you do have to tie it into an emotional need. And you're very right that attorneys like to think that people pick attorneys very logically. And I know some law firms have basically built their marketing around this idea that people research, and when they're finished with their research, they'll find us because we have the most materials, we have the most information, we have ebooks or whatever. But unfortunately, like people don't really research that much. I was writing for my Substack just yesterday, and this was on FindLaw. I was doing some research and looking at the FindLaw website, and they reported that most people only ever contact one attorney. Like if they have a legal issue, there's only one law firm they're going to probably contact. And that's either going to be like the best reviewed law firm in their local area on Google, or it's going to be somebody who is referred to them by somebody else, right? And so it's very like a shallow funnel. We're trying to catch people's attention, latch into like an emotional need, like you said, in the limbic system. I'm trying to keep up with that part of it a little bit. And then like at that point, like we have to persuade them to take the next step and make the phone call. Now, as far as billboards go, that's a lot to have the user go through as they're driving by 60 miles an hour. And so like a lot of law firms who have this huge brand presence will use them. But law firms that are like, I need leads now, I need to grow, they're not going to use billboards. They're going to use something more direct where we have more time to go through, like hook them, connect with them emotionally, and persuade them. And there's something else you said earlier, and I wanted to make note of it. Yeah, no. So you mentioned stimuli. And so one of the things that sticks with me when I think about neuromarketing or just like kind of mentally hacking, I guess, people is colors and design, oddly enough. I'm not like a super great graphic designer, but like I've been marketing long enough that I kind of have to. You review like websites, you review creatives, you got to know a thing or two. And so I guess like once upon a time, like there was a study done on birds where it was little baby birds, right? And what they did is they replaced the mother with a series of more simplistic items. And so they replaced the mother with like a doll that looked like the mother bird. And then they replaced it with a more simplistic version of the doll. And then eventually, like it got down to a point with when they were feeding the baby birds, all that they appeared with was a stick with a certain set of colors at the tip. And basically, like what they found is that very simplistic stimuli, the stick with the colors, whenever they introduced it, the birds reacted as though it was their mother. And it was because like the researchers had tapped into like a super stimuli, is what they called it. Like this is a very simplistic version of something that baby birds react to very strongly, which is their mother. And it ended up being a stick with like red and yellow at the tip. And I'll have to look up that study again because I think about it all the time. But, you know, when it comes to like design, like attorney websites or attorney ads, like, do you think there's like a certain like set of design rules we should follow? Or do you think there are things that work better than others, what are the super stimuli like we can use for like our marketing basically?
One of the stimuli is visual. So the best way to activate the stimuli is live presentation. But you cannot always do that. So the second best thing is video. And the third best is photo. So in your ads, the best thing is just focus on lawyer talking, because our mind will first recognize it and it will be triggered by person, moving, talking, and real person. And sorry, when I mean a real person, I don't, with the AI and AI twins, don't do that. I don't know why, but we can always tell this is the AI video or AI picture. And like a year ago, it's funny. I tried to optimize my video production and I wanted to create my video twin, like just to test it. And as you can see and hear, I speak with an accent, and my AI twin spoke with a British accent, which was so funny. So AI,
That's funny.
long way to go. So in your ads, the best way is to do video or just photo. I don't know, like colors have impact, but will particular color catch attention or not? It may help like justify decision, but person's face, person expression, motions will definitely catch a primal brain attention, and then at the emotional level, we will see, it's that gut feeling that we get, and I trust this person, this feels safe, I want to hear more. And and on your website, don't use stock images, don't use this gavel scales or just random people, not your team members. Because, we can all tell that it's a stock image. So just use real people, because people connect with people. Even if you sell B2B, people run those businesses and they make decisions. And like I said at the beginning, that people usually call just one law firm. I think it might be connected to the fact that some lawyer or law firm, some lawyer catches our attention, then we get this emotional connection, a gut feeling that to trust or not to trust. And then, only then, we rationalize, oh yeah, on this website, this lawyer has 40 years of experience. Oh, they helped this many people. Oh, this case study is similar to my case. Then, okay, I'll call them. So the decision was made at the emotional part of our brain. Later comes the rationalization. Like sometimes, we're not connected to law firm. Like when we buy, I like shoes. So when we buy shoes, we don't buy it because they're practical, they're warm. It's because they make us feel good. So this is emotional connection. And then we justify, oh yes, they were on sale. That's why I bought them. Oh, they will be warm or whatever is your trigger.
Oh, and that's like my favorite fact about decision making, because everyone feels like they are really rational decision makers, right? But like most of the time, like what we do is we do make basically like an instant decision, and we might not be fully aware of like what that decision is. Like maybe people are really self-aware and know, but like you're faced with a situation, you kind of know which way you're leaning already. And then, like, if you're looking for a law firm, there might be, let's just say there are 10 law firms in my city, right? I live in kind of a small area. And I'm not going to look at all 10. Nobody's going to look at all 10. I mean, we already have data that shows many people just call one. But if you're evaluating options, a lot of people just start with three. And then after they look at the three, there are probably like three things. Like there are three businesses they're evaluating, and then there are three like metrics. So if you're buying a car, maybe it's like it has a good warranty, it has a good performance record, and it has self-driving features. Maybe those are the three main things you're evaluating for each car. So you look at three different cars, look at them to see if they meet these three criteria. And then pretty much at that point, you've made your decision. Most people don't look deeper or further than that. And I mean, maybe that sounds like a lot, but that's actually like not a lot of information when you're thinking about buying like a $30,000, $60,000 car or deciding to hire a law firm. And people only contact one. That's another shortcut, is just asking somebody else. If you don't know how to find a lawyer, don't know what kind of lawyer you need, you're probably going to ask for a referral. And that's like just mental kind of, knocked over my stuff. That's just this shortcut that a lot of people take instead of like doing their own research. So yeah, that definitely is interesting in how we just ultimately like reach these decisions, reach these choices. So as far as like unethical marketing, I'm curious like what you see out there that law firms are doing, but definitely should, or not necessarily law firms. It's mostly the agencies, right? So what are they doing?
One of the things is like manufactured scarcity or manufactured fear. Actually, one of the triggers that neuromarketing shows us to use is to use fear to speak to people's fears and pains, but to do this not manipulate people into hiring you because you exploited their fears, but to do this ethically. And how can you do this? So one of the ways to ethically speak to someone's fears and pains is to talk about their day-to-day frustrations and pains, what they are going through. And so when you start your post or when you talk to someone, you need to make sure that you understand what they are going through, not just you're going through divorce, like this is what you need to do. Or instead, what you can say is, yes, I understand that you might be sleeping on your friend's couch. Maybe you're not certain about your financial future. You're worried that you will not see your children that often. I understand that. So we are calling out all those frustrations, all those pains that a person is going through. And this is the way how to capture someone's attention. So first you visually grab them attention, but then say things that would make other person think, oh yes, this person really understands me. This is not, I just don't want a divorce contract or whatever, with just the end goal. I want someone who understands what I'm going through. And this is when our primal brain gets activated, because this is focused on me. The primal brain is self-centered. So if it's about me, I need to listen to that. And so you need to really understand what your ideal clients go through. So when you create your ideal persona, don't just list your demographics, but all really, really try to understand the pains and frustrations and fears your customers are having. And you can, of course, you can even ask them, but try to go deeper. Don't accept just the surface level explanation of why someone hired you, because people will give you logical reason, but they may not even understand themselves why they chose someone as opposed to someone else. Because they make decision in emotional center, but then give reasons and logical explanation to themselves. And so bottom line, you need to understand what someone is going through. And just posting like client alerts or your blog posts saying, here's client alert, go read it. This will not trigger anything. Or another example, which is close to me, about immigration. Recently, Trump posted this 100,000 fee for H-1B visas. And all my feed, at least on LinkedIn, was just lawyers and law firms just saying this news. He increased, and like, you're not a media company. Everyone knows that. Your clients already know that. Tell that instead I'm not speaking about everyone, but at least I haven't seen anyone saying, yes, you have a business, say you wanted to bring over 3 foreign workers on H-1B visa. Now you have to pay this 300,000 fee. What impact will it have on your business? So as a lawyer, I have a solution for you. So make sure you understand what they are going through. So as a business owner, your business may not afford this fee. So you have to create some other solution. And as a lawyer, I can understand that and I can help with that. And in your content, it's not manipulative way, but start with pain. But at the end of your content, always give the relief. So this emotional stimuli, because this will be like memorable stimuli, because our brain remembers beginning and ending. So in the middle, you can say, like, of course, don't say anything, but it's not that important. So at the beginning, acknowledge someone's pain, what they're going through in details, what their day looks like. And then at the end, just give the relief. Just, you can give them the solution.
And I people remember negative information more deeply in their brain than positive information. And so, yeah, you still want to lead with pain, which sounds terrible. But, you're right. There's a correct way to speak to like fear and pain and frustration and marketing copy. So it's the difference between saying just like, let's imagine like a headline on an article. Let's say the headline is, if you've been arrested for a DUI, you will lose your job. And that's, if somebody's in that situation, that'll probably scare the hell out of them, right? And then maybe their attorneys like the article goes on to tell them like how they can avoid that. But that's like a very like impactful and unethical headline because you're creating this like very strong emotion in somebody who's just researching their legal issue, and they might be suddenly very scared and contact you instantly or leave your site. I don't know. And maybe that sounds like a desirable income, but you don't give that relief as you describe. You just don't get that. You're hoping the fear will just drive them and push them to you. But if you're wanting to speak to that, that fear, which is very valid if you've been arrested for a DUI, there's a right way to do it. And let's say instead of saying you're going to lose your job, you use the headline instead that says something like, here's how to protect your job if you've been arrested for a DUI. Because it conveys the need to know information that's potentially something you might face and why you might need an attorney losing your job without sounding like doom and gloom, catastrophic. You're going to give them the information they need at the end, that relief that you said, right? And so, yeah, we definitely need to be mindful of what our clients are going through and what their experiences are, because we have to tap into that in our marketing copy, particularly when we're trying to convert somebody into a client. We don't have to write like that in our email newsletter, which is essentially like a fluff piece for a law firm almost. But to potential clients who are facing that legal issue immediately, I mean, definitely. Well, Ola, we're actually coming up on kind of the end, which went by awful fast, like I have to admit. And there's more to talk about, so we may actually do like a second episode on this down the road. But unfortunately, we're going to have to wrap it up today. But what do you want to leave listeners with about this topic with neuromarketing? Like, what can they do with it today to help their marketing and help their business?
So if I thank you for the invitation, and there is definitely a lot to talk about, and I'd be happy to record a second one. And one thing that I would try to finish is, do not focus on yourself. Focus on your clients who are undergoing not the best period of in their lives. They are under stress and they just need to be understood. And especially for lawyers, don't overcomplicate your message. No one doubts that you are smart. Don't use legalese. Just, our brain prefers simple language. So if you can relate to someone in simple language, they would be so grateful to, and they will emotionally make this decision. And then when they call to you, that will be like formality. And they will logically then justify this decision to go with your law firm.
Oh, no, there's really something to, I don't want to go on too long, but there's definitely something to, like, when somebody has an issue, coming to them with good news, like you said, the relief, coming to them with good news, giving them something of value without asking anything in return. That's why ebooks are so common, but there are a million ways to give a potential client value. And that whole cycle that you talked about, which I'm going to be thinking about, is just the way to kind of build trust and to get them drawn towards you, as opposed to just like being super aggressive with like billboards and stuff. Look at me, look at me, look at me. So thank you so much for being on the show. Where do you want people to go to look you up and learn more about you?
Thank you so much. So I publish resources for lawyers on my website, ethosleads.com. And also I'm quite active on LinkedIn, Olha Bodnar. So we'd be happy to connect.
Guys, check her out and follow her. I love her videos on LinkedIn, a lot of quick, good marketing tutorials, and you guys should definitely check her out. For now, we'll see everyone next time. Thank you so much for listening and talk to you all soon.